Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Time Pass podcast. Today we have a guest joining all the way from London, UK. The name is Ishani Nirgudkar, and she used to live in India in Pune and used to work as a PR professional, has moved to London, works as a digital marketer there along with being a mother. So we'll hear more about her story. Just added her to the podcast, and we should be able to go live real soon. And I think this should do it. And there we have it. Hey, hi Shani.
Hi Pratik, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good morning to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about you?
Good. All well, all well. So, thank you first of all for joining the podcast. Glad you received the invitation.
No,
And
thank you so much for inviting. I think we are talking after ages. I don't know how many years, Pratik?
I think I've also honestly lost count because I left my PR career way back in 2010 or 11, I think,
Okay.
which is one of the last times you might have spoken professionally, during working in the same organization. And I don't know, when did you leave Blue Lotus?
I think I left Blue Lotus around 2011,
Right.
and in 2012 I moved to London. So
Right.
I think we are speaking after good 11 years.
Wow.
I know we have been following each other quite a lot on Instagram, social media, and we are aware about each other's live updates, but then it's really nice to connect and like chat and chit chat and just catch up.
Absolutely. In fact, that was the original objective of this series that I'm doing, just to catch up with people and have a fun conversation. Might as well record it and publish it online for others to probably see. That was one of the agendas.
Yeah, I don't know where you get all these ideas from, and you have quite an extensive guest list, so I'm pretty honored to be a part of it.
No, absolutely. I mean, my pleasure. And I think, the fun part of the internet is that internet allows you to play around like a kid. So like if you give some kids some Lego blocks, they will build something out of it, right? So I think
Yeah.
if you start looking at the internet like that, if you just want to have fun, I mean, if you don't think about what do you want to achieve out of it or what ROI will you achieve from something, then you can just play around and probably have fun. So this is me looking at the internet and having fun through it.
Yeah, I think, you have always been one of those, who knew how to use internet to maximum benefit. Back in the day, also, I remember when we used to do PR,
Right.
how to use those online websites, to get maximum coverage for our clients back in the day. So I think you really know how to play with the power of like internet, social media, and just use it to the max for yourself.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of fun being part of the communications industry, which is where we all started, effectively speaking. And yeah, kind of good to be here and good to see you where you are. So to get things started, I think I'll pick the part that I'm most aware of, and then we'll go back, and then we'll also go towards the future. So how did PR happen for you, or how did you end up in a job in PR back in the day?
Ah, back in the day, I always wanted to. I mean, when I picked up my master's course back in the day, I always saw myself as someone who will end up in like corporate communication side of industry. And then I mean, Copcom is not that easy to crack into. So a lot of people that I spoke with, they are like start with the PR side of things. You will know how the corporate communication industry works. Jump into then you can jump into Copcom side of the business. So I started with like PR industry. When I started, I was like, no, I want to be in Pune. I don't want to leave Pune and everything. And that's when Lotus happened. I mean, initially when I started out in PR, I really enjoyed it. It was very new, like very new to me as an industry, like, going, meeting clients, doing that client servicing, building those media relations and everything. But after a while, I started to think upon it and I was like, okay, I'm giving this coverage to a client. but how do I really know that people are really reading that piece
Reading.
of news? So at the end of the day, what I'm doing, is it really getting
Creating value.
the, yeah, is it building value A, and are there enough viewers to see what I'm publishing? Because yes, I never used to work, I mean, I had like a medium scale brands, and it was more like, corporate kind of brands. So it was more like, okay, is it like really, are the views really happening here, so that just got me thinking. And after a while, I was like, I was in PR for like good 3.5 years. And then, yeah, and then I think so when we were in PR, we used to do like we used to contact these websites and publish the things. I think that part of the job I used to really like, I used to really enjoy that part of the business. So when I knew I'm coming to London, I knew digital marketing is really thriving. It's absolutely booming in this side of the world. But then digital marketing is such a broad term, I wasn't sure which part of the industry I want to get into. So when I knew I'm moving to this side of the world, I started to do my research to see what kind of job opportunities are here, what kind of agencies are here. I mean, they are from like small scale, medium scale startups to like the big six agencies that I'm part of now. So, there was like quite a lot to pick up. And I was like, okay, where do I start from? This is like, at least PR is like, it's PR, you get into a PR agency start. But then digital, it's like so much to learn and do, where do I start? How do I go about things? And that's when I was like, okay, let's just move to that part of the world and see what can happen, what can I do. But then when I started the job applications, they were like, oh, if you want to get into the digital industry, you need to have the digital experience to show us. It's like a very, very PR heavy CV that we have right now, which I knew I might get like, this kind of a feedback. And I was like, oh my God, what to do in this case, I was like, okay, I'll keep on applying. Then, I went to a smaller, it was a B2B kind of a marketing research agency that they used to do email marketing. So I started with that team. It was a marketing team essentially, and they used to do a bit of SEO, Google Analytics, a lot of email marketing. So I was like, okay, this is a good thing to get into the door and learning things. So I started with like email marketing, and that was not something that I really enjoyed. I was like, no, this is not something I really enjoy. So, I was like, okay, let's look into some, but I was like, I at least have that experience. So let's get that 4 to 5 months of experience to get into the door. Because here LinkedIn is considered a lot powerful tool. I'm sure it's the same in India as well, where people do see like, connecting with the recruiters over LinkedIn, having a catch up with the recruiter over LinkedIn, it gets you a really strong value. I have a lot of recruiters who reach out to me on LinkedIn, and there are few jobs that I've done in the past, I have got them through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is like really a powerful tool that I have noticed really worked in my favor back in the day. And then, I was like, email marketing is not my kind of a thing. Then there was this group agency that was hiring like a trainees to come and join their performance marketing team. So now in this side of the world, there is a performance marketing team, where like a search specialist who does advertising on Google sits with like someone who does advertising on the SEO side as well, and there's like a social side of the business as well. So that's like a performance marketing team, because they do everything that's related to drive the performance of a client and for your brand. So they were hiring the trainees back then. So I started in that team back in the day, and then I learned PPC side of the business. So I used to do like Google. I used to work on the Google ads. I used to learn on do the ads on Bing, look at Google Analytics, and they had told me it's a trainee job. So it was for like for 4 months or 6 months or something like that. But since like it's a group agency, what we will do is like, we will put you across other group agencies, because there's like a lot of recruitment drive that's going on. So if it gets successful, it is there. So I think I was there at the right place at the right time, because when they put me forward, there was a MediaCom team that was making a new team for all the social media specialists. What the social media specialist I mean is like, there was this team who would do active planning, buying, for across all the social media platforms. It's not the content creation, but then the ads that you see, there are planners, buyers, and the strategists who sit behind and plan that whole campaign for the brands here. So that was a team that was getting formed. So, and luckily, I started my digital marketing journey in like 2014, I think so.
Right.
And I mean, I like the fact that I could see who's watching my ad. I could see basically what comes out of those ads. At the end of the day, I can see if my ads have been successful or not, because we can put the brand lift studies. We have the reporting metrics. All these social media platforms, they have excellent reporting capacities at the end of the day. So yes, I was very happy that at the end of the day, I know what my ad is doing to a client's business, which I was happy about. And so far, I'm loving what I do, and I think the industry, from the social industry, has changed, and it is going to change moving forward, because I remember back in the day we used to just do like the main channels used to be Twitter, Facebook, um, and probably LinkedIn. But then like LinkedIn advertising capacities were like not that advanced. But then over like 6, 7, 8 years, they are like, there's a boom of all the social media channels. There's like Pinterest, there's Reddit, there is like your Meta, there is you name it and it's there. And Snapchat, there's the AI capacities, and creating like filters and lenses for the clients, because my last client was an entertainment based client. So we used to create like the lenses that you see on Snapchat, the filters that you see on Snapchat. So much has changed for over the period of time, that this industry is only going to boom. And I think when I started, I was there at the right time, because it was just growing. It was just like two channels, so I could learn it from the scratch and come up to whatever level I am at this point of time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think essentially you went from perception-based marketing to performance-based marketing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that ability to see what happens to an ad, ability to see what it does for a client, the ability to make your moves according to those analytics is what probably gives you a high also in terms of, doing more of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, if your campaign is successful or not. I mean, depending which vertical do you work on this side of the social media side as well. If you're working for the fashion brand, they have like autumn winter collection, they have fashion shows, they have like spring summer collection. So at the end of the day, you can see how much sale a social campaign is driving to that whole campaign, which is important. And that your work can be validated, rather than with PR. You never knew how many footfalls did we get for like a big piece that we get on like a TOI or like any other newspaper for that matter.
So while there has been a boom in terms of clients spending more and more money, trying out new things all along these last 8 to 10 years, do you see major evolution in terms of them becoming more picky about where to spend, how much to spend, what is the kind of ROI we will generate out of this, or becoming a little careful of spending their money on these various channels that exist now?
So when we see the budget, the budget that a planning team gives to us, we see the majority of the chunk of the budget going to the traditional channels like TV, radio, outdoors, because these are still considered like the key channels for a client. With social and programmatic side of things, they are very careful where's the ad they want to appear, because there are some clients, who do not cater to teens, and they would not want to go on channels like Snapchat and TikTok, which are essentially considered as um, then Gen Z channels or like
I
the
understand.
teenage
I
channels.
understand.
Yeah. So it depends, which product you're catering to, what client you're working with. But then there are some clients like entertainment-based brands. These brands, we can tap into and probably try and test like different channels for them, like be that TikTok, be that Pinterest, be that Meta, because I would say yes, they are careful, but it depends on like what product you're catering out to. So they are very selective of the channels, and then at the end of the day, the historic knowledge, like if XYZ channel has worked well in the past for them, they would like to continue spending on that. It depends on how is the how is the client that you're dealing with, are they open for testing? Because I always say to my set of clients, like the more you test, the more you understand, the more you will know where your audience lies. Because like after a while, if you have been advertising on Meta for like say good 12 months, 18 months to 24 months, after a while you might not be able to get that audience that you're looking after. Then shall we start to look into other channels? Probably if you're looking for parents, can we look at Pinterest as a channel?
Of course.
Where there's like parents audiences. So I always tell my clients, test, 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 test more, and just keep that small budget aside to test. A small budget and the
Makes sense.
test drive like a big results at the end of the day. But then keep that budget aside and see what happens and what can we do with that test budget. So yes, the careful spending is there. To coming back to your question, careful spending is there, but then I also suggest like just go and test, take that leap of faith sometimes and see if this channel is working or not.
Correct. Makes sense. So you mentioned that a lot of clients still majorly spend on radio, TV, print, billboards. Other than catering to the, I will call it the elder generation, or people in their say probably 50 plus or something like that. What do you think makes a client still go so strong on these offline platforms versus the online platforms?
I think that's a very tricky question, Pratik. It's probably I would not have a right answer for that right now. Or it's more like a debatable topic. But then majority of the footfalls that they see that the audiences do have, it's like on the outdoor. TV being a traditional channel, they 1,000% know like a audience from a 5-year old to like 65 to 70-year old, they are for sure going to be on this channel at the end of the day. So that's why TV is like a main channel across all the media plans or across all the planners that sit on the comms side, on the strategy side. They want television to be a dominant kind of a channel to have. Radio is again, someone who's like 55, 60, who is a probably an audience. But at the end of the day, I can see some
You
trolls.
can ignore the comments. Just ignore the comments. Just carry on.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, if these guys are not on the social media channels, but they will be on the radio, they will be listening the radio while driving. That's when they want to tap into that audiences. Because yes, online presence is strong, but then if when we say someone who's like 50 plus, 55 plus, there might be a case like they might not be on all these channels. So how do you tap into them, and they are your audiences? That's when these traditional channels are maximum effective channels to be used across any strategy, I feel.
I can tell you from, the experience here in India that radio and television both have definitely decreased in terms of viewership or how many people access those channels. In a place like London specifically, how much of a change has been there over the past, say, 10 years that you've been there, that people are listening to radio just as much as they used to or watching the same amount of TV, or has it changed specifically in London, I'm asking?
I mean, if you would have asked me this question pre-COVID days, I would have said like, people listen to radio a lot. People tune into their Spotify, which has the ad buying capacity on the platform, where, you can listen the ads when the song is playing as well. Even for that matter, if you go on like any other music channels that you're listening to, the I would say a lot of people would have consumed radio, or like, watched Netflix on their way to work, and they would have consumed the content. But then post-COVID, things have slightly changed, since people are like into remote working or the hybrid working of the situation, that consumption has slightly reduced down. But I would not say the streaming services consumption has reduced down. I would not say that. I think so from COVID onwards, the consumption of streaming services has increased quite a lot. And I don't know if you know this or not, but then I know Netflix had recently introduced that they will start
Password
yes,
sharing restriction.
they would like get people to advertise on the platform.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So I mean, that's again a smart move, considering like, someone as my individual media consumption habits, with like 2 kids, you would not expect me to go in a theater and watch a cinema. So I will be someone who will be consuming the content on Netflix, and in that ad comes which is like catered to me. Probably I will pick that up. So yes, the consumption habits have changed post COVID, I would say. That's
Right.
my answer to you. And a lot of people are consuming the content on either streaming platforms or like your social media platforms. But then the traditional medias, they still have their own place. I mean, outdoor is like, now that the restrictions have been lifted from like past 2 years almost, there's a lot of people who are like stepping out and about. That means, there is a lot of people who are seeing the content which is outside. And I mean, London being one of the main city, they have brilliant outdoor advertising to see. There's something called as Piccadilly Circus in London, which is which is like, I think the concept is taken from Times Square. There is like a big billboards out there where the advertisements are like flashing. So it's I mean, now I feel outdoor media, the consumption is quite a lot. I don't know what's with strollers, Prateek.
Carry on, guys. We got some hecklers in the show, nevertheless. Carry on.
Yeah. So I think so the consumption for the outdoor media has increased again. So it's only because of the footfalls and how much people step out, and so there's so much to do outside. That's why I think so outdoor placements make more sense to have.
So, on one hand, you're saying that OTT consumption is on the rise even after COVID. And on the other hand, you're also saying that London is the kind of place which will invite people to come outside, outdoors, and experience the city and probably the surroundings in general. But cinema halls are on the decline, is what you're trying to tell me. Is that right?
It depends from film to film, honestly. I mean, right now, like, I think so on Friday, Barbie has released, and I think so every person that I have seen on my friend list is going for a Barbie. So I would not say the theater culture is reducing. It is still very much there. It just depends on like the right kind of film. Like, if the right kind of film is coming your way, you will have audience walk into the cinema. I mean, I'm sure it's same in India as well. When there's a right kind of film that's coming in, you will have audience flocking the theaters.
So I think it might also have to do with price sensitivity. Maybe in a country like India, people might be more sensitive to spending, let's say, 2,000-3,000 rupees for a family outing to watch an okay movie versus spending, say, 1,500 bucks on Amazon Prime for the whole year. So it could be different, because I also understand that OTT is also expensive in other parts of the world. Like for example, would you know? I mean, what is Amazon Prime for a year there in UK? I mean, roughly, if you might know.
I don't know. My Netflix subscription is around like £8, £10, but then that's for a month. Yeah.
For a month, right?
Multiple.
So yeah, incidentally, Netflix is
multiple.
Netflix is somewhat equally expensive here in India. I mean to say, I think it would be 500-600 bucks for one of those HD connections. But I get the point. And therefore, you have a lesser adoption of Netflix in India. You have people using it, but mostly it's with a lot of password sharing and 10 people sharing an account or 5 people sharing an account, which is also something they're cracking down on, and they're also trying to fix the prices accordingly. But interesting, interesting. So
No, I
while
would
we're
also,
talking,
I would
yes,
also,
go on.
it's more like talking about like cinema culture or the theater culture, talking from like a parent's perspective, if you have like young kids, I mean, you don't want to take them in a cinema hall where like one kid is screaming, one kid is
I
watching. So
understand.
at
I
the end of
understand.
the day, I'll just prefer like, sitting at home, after the kids are off to bed, open like a good glass of pour myself a good glass of wine, just chill and
Right.
watch Netflix, instead of making the whole hassle of making that trip to the theater, So like I think so personally for me, being a parent, for the next few years, theater is like out of case just for me. But then
I
that the
understand.
culture is declining, yeah.
No, I understand. I think, see, I think there was never an alternative to cinema halls.
Yeah.
Even a good new movie will come on TV, it'll say 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line. But if you can get to see something new also 2-3 months after its release, people might as well just sit at home and enjoy a movie and then order in, like you
Yeah.
said, have some wine or just enjoy its friends, and all of that can happen. Interesting. Interesting. So we talked about PR and then the switch that you made to digital marketing. Tell me about the switch from Pune to London. That is what I am even more interested in.
Oh my God, Pratik, where do I start from? Uh, I mean, both the places are very dear to me. I won't lie to you. Both the places are very dear to me. Pune is the place where I grew up, and where I still have my family and friends who live. London is like more like a second home. It is a second home. I have made like my life here.
So,
Both of them are born here, so it's been a very interesting journey. When I was do you say when I was courting my husband, when I was dating my husband or boyfriend back then, however, he had clearly said, he's like, you're taking a big decision, because, London as a place, he's like, the weather is like gloomy, in winters, by 4 o'clock it gets dark, it rains all the time, you are leaving your family and friends and coming all on across the globe, how do you feel about that? And he was always honest about it. He was like, the weather here is like not great. I mean, in a day we see like 4 seasons. We absolutely see 4 seasons. I won't lie. It starts with cold in the morning. By afternoon, I will have like a sunshine. By midday, I'll have a rain. And evening, it's like it will be like probably breezy, cold, or like mix of everything. So literally, we have seen like three weathers or four weathers in a day. So he had given me complete picture of how the life will be here. What I didn't expect was the pace of a life. The pace of life is like so fast here. Comparatively, Pune is very laid back. Pune is like,
of course.
aram se chalu hota hai. People start around like 10:30. Nobody's like in a rush. Whereas the day here starts by 7 o'clock. At times people are in office by like 8:30, and yeah. So when we take like a public transport 7 o'clock in the morning, it's like pretty crowded, it's pretty packed. So the pace of life was something, it was, I mean, that was something was very difficult for me to cope up with. I won't lie to you, because the pace of life was so fast coming from Pune. It was like all laid back in Pune. घर पे रहो, मम्मी के हाथ का खाना खाओ, ये करो वो करो. And then suddenly coming here, and like the pace of life is like da 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 da. Come on, you're on the road, you're on the move. Come on, move. That was something very difficult to get adapted to. I think so. That was the first big change for me. Second big change was like, yeah, I should live with my parents. I was taken good care of. mom used to cook for me, the clothes used to be ironed, nothing to worry about, when I came on this part of the world, every day I have to scratch my head like what to make for lunch, what
Right.
to make for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. And now with kids, they have to put like 6 meals out there because, who's in a mood for what, that kind of a thing. So I think so, getting used to that little bit of independent life, which not little, a massive independent life, which I was never used to back home. I was independent in a way, like, I was financially very secure. I was a
Right.
working professional. But then, house part was taken care by mom. I
Correct.
never be bothered, that what to go out and get, do the household chores because, maids is like a luxury, man. Back in India, here getting a maid is like, it's not that luxury. I mean,
Right.
we do get house help, but then it's not a luxury as it is in India.
Right.
So that was like a big change, like, taking charge of the kitchen, taking charge of the household chores, and, just taking care of like your own house, which I never knew that one needs to do.
How does
So
right.
yeah, that was a big change. And then I think the third big change was like, I'm sure if you have visited places like Pune and Mumbai, we use our own motorbikes or mopeds, as we
Yeah, yeah.
call.
Correct.
Yeah, not having that, it just felt like, oh my God, my wings have been chopped, because I was so to have my own two-wheeler, here always I'm dependent on public transport or Ubers, or
Right.
like, if I have to go far off, I have to be dependent on like a car or something like that. So yeah, I think that these were like a major big changes. And I think so apart from that, getting adapted to the whole British weather, I would say that was the
The
biggest task.
biggest
Yeah,
change.
because at least in Europe, I feel, at least in Europe, you get proper summers. Here, even if we get one day of sunshine, we all are like so happy. Like, oh my God, the sun is finally
Wow.
out. Are like absolutely happy with it. But getting adapted to British weather was something so difficult because in India you just have like two weathers. It's like hot
Especially
or
in
rain.
Pune. Especially in Pune, basically. I mean,
Just two.
had you probably been in North India, you get to experience some more weathers, but I get the point. From Pune to London would have been a complete change.
Yeah, so the journey was interesting, along my journey I went on learning like how to do the things, probably if I was in like India, probably I would have been like in a joint family with in-laws, I wouldn't have got that independence maybe, because ek hota hai na, when you're with in-laws, you're like, yes, there's someone to look after,
Oh,
but
oh.
on your own, you literally have to take charge of the things and, you just have to get going. So I think so, yeah, it was like a get-go kind of a attitude that I think so made me survive here for like so long.
Yeah, but so you went from I mean, for the lack of a better word, a pampered girl from Pune to a strong, independent woman in London, maybe.
I would say that, yeah, it was absolute pampering, staying at home, like, not do anything and, just have a chill life, whenever you want, step out, meet friends, go out for dinner and everything, but then now you have to plan so much. Now the case is different because, like, with the kids as well, the things are different,
Of course.
but then, even like, when it was just like me and my husband, then, it was like, okay, plan the things, we could take like the spontaneous vacations and everything,
Right.
but at the end of the day, Sunday you come back and you're like, oh, I have to prepare for Monday because it's like a
Correct.
working week.
Correct.
Yeah. So you have pretty much put it in the right words, I would say.
Right. Right. No, I think it's the journey seems to have been full of, its own troubles, but I am sure that, you come out all strong and powerful at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I think that's all that matters at the end. Great. Great. So, yeah, I think largely this covers and sums up all I wanted to hear and understand. And in addition, of course, the Instagram updates help to know what life is like there and what you're up to. But been an absolute pleasure reconnecting after so long. after a decade as we calculated.
Oh, I know, Pradeep. It has been so, so long. It was good catching up. I mean, the other side of world is great. You know, you get to explore and do so much. A person comes out as an independent person, but then I would also say, you know, people who are used to the lap of luxury, like, you know, having like a house help and everything, and, you know, then they might find this life little difficult. I would say, you know, it's not that easy. But then, you know, one who wants to explore, you know, take a leap and, you know, see what the other part of the world is like, then definitely I would definitely encourage people to do that, because, you know, it hasn't been like it hasn't been like, you know, bad experiences, but it has always been like a learning phase. And I think after staying in Pune for like very long period of time, because I did my schooling, college, my masters, my first job from the same city. So when, you know, I met my husband, then, you know, I was like, okay, this seems like, you know, a good thing, like, you know, good change as well, because, you know, I'll be in a different part of the world, you know, I'll get to see so much, you know, I'll get to travel so much. That were like the perks. But then there was also like, you know, you have to be lot independent, you have to, you know, look after like, you know, all the household things, and, you know, look after yourself, you know. And again, you know, I moved the industries as well. I came from like a traditional
Absolutely.
channel, moving, like getting my foot in the door, you know, setting my career up here, you know. It's never a easy thing. But then, you know, it has been like the learning phase, interesting phase. And, you know, I mean, you know, if I wouldn't have taken that leap of faith back then, I wouldn't have experienced all that I have done so far.
I think there's been too much transition in your life in the last 10 to 12 years,
Absolutely.
which would have made you grow a lot. But of course, we only see that in hindsight, you know, when we've come all the way or grown all the way.
Yeah, and it just never stops, you know. It's always the learning, you know, that I feel, you know, like now with like motherhood as well, it's like a
Yeah,
learning, because um I always feel like my friends who have kids, you know, they have like a lot of luxury, because, you know, they have help, they have like family by, you know. And, you know, with me being like little away from family, you know, I have to just work around things between me and my husband around the kids, like, so that we make sure that they have enough support, care, and attention. So, you know, I just feel, you know, it's always the learning phase, and each and every time I have like, you know, moved into a different phases of life, I've just grown and, you know, learned something new always.
absolutely. And I think, to be very frank and honest, that may not have been possible had you been in a Pune or a Bombay or in any of these cities. Let's
I
say
Yeah.
it would have been life would have been very different. You would have grown in other ways, but the kind of growth that independence brings in life is, I think, something very different and unique. It kind of just uh,
it
you know, readies you up for
was
life. Sorry.
it just makes you as a person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, in fact, while you brought that point up, I wanted to also say that we see a lot of people from India moving outside, and a small percentage of them also coming back. The people who are coming back, I mean, they might also want the different experience or the adventure or the newness that comes along. But I think for some of the people, it's like, you know, we are just better off back in India.
Hmm.
We'll make do with whatever opportunities are here, and you know, we were already doing fine, and we don't want to do so much to get a new experience. While there are others who, despite all the troubles you mentioned, I mean, thankfully you are in London. There are people who would be in Germany, Canada, and Australia, or wherever. Sometimes language also becomes an issue, or sometimes weathers could be even harsh, you know, in a certain way.
Yeah, I think for
And
most people, it's like, you know, as I said, in India, you know, you're with your family, you're with your friends, you know, sometimes you just miss that the whole family atmosphere. You can make friends. I mean, I have had made really wonderful friends here, you know. I mean, So I think so, but then I do miss my friends and the college friends that I had, the school friends that I had. But then I think so, having that family, that support, like your
I
core
understand.
group that they absolutely miss, and maybe that's another reason, like family, not having close friends, that might be getting people back. But then yes, there are various reasons as well, people just, after doing that all the things independently, you just good to come home and get that little bit of luxury as well.
So some people also make the switch and they make it work, but a small percentage also comes back. And I think all in all, it's a very personal choice. Meanwhile, let me tell you the surprising thing about the family culture and friendship in India. In India, also, there is a lot of intercity migration happening. So, a lot of people are moving from, let's say Delhi to Bangalore, Bangalore to Bombay, Bombay to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Pune. So, effectively, everything is getting disrupted because you don't have jobs in every city anymore. I mean, unless you are working in a very core sector that is only that a city is only famous for, a technology job will just take you everywhere, or a marketing job could also take you from Bangalore to wherever. In addition, so many people are moving outside, and when I say moving outside, that outside could mean just anywhere in the world. So effectively, our friendship circles have also been getting disrupted. And we've effectively started feeling like in Gujarati or in Hindi, they say that Gaon is supposed to be your sheher, like your city is your Gaon. So effectively, I started feeling like I'm living in the village, and whenever people come back to their hometown, I'm here to welcome them. But there are not enough original native people who still exist in the same localities or the same cities. So
Yeah, I know.
I think it's a global disruption of sorts with the internet technology opportunities opening up. Like 30 years ago, how many people from Pune would just go and settle in London? I mean, like probably a really small chunk of population, right? And today, I'm sure there must be more people from Maharashtra, Pune, Bombay in London. Plus, there will be 100 times visitors versus 10 years, 20 years ago that just randomly go to Europe and come back. So I think the more these opportunities open up, the more people are allowed to explore more cultures. The more their mind also opens up to judge, assess what do we want to do, where do we want to stay, is this good for me, is this bad for me. And I think we're all in that. I mean, it's a it's a it's a pot that keeps moving, right? Something is happening, churning is happening, and some of us are just sitting here and looking and wondering and just observing what is happening in the world and trying to figure out that okay, let's see where this all goes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I know, I completely know what you mean, and what you're trying to make a point here. I completely understand you.
right. And in fact, thanks to the internet, thanks to the video calls and all the other apps that we all use, at least we all get to stay connected in some way or the other, even if we don't really, kind of physically meet all our friends or all our relatives wherever they may be.
Yeah, and I think you get the updates as well, like how is person doing. So, you just, I mean, even if you're not connected or you're not talking to a person like on one-on-one basis, you at least see the story or like the feed and you know what's going on. So, yeah, I think so. That's also a good thing, like, power of internet, as I said.
Exactly. And I've been a firm believer of it all the while. And even moving forward, I think this is what will help humanity stay connected in general. So yeah, more power to it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Lovely. So I think it's been a wonderful conversation. I am so glad that we connected after so long.
I
And
we could just get the time that works for both of us. And thank you for having me a guest on your live chat or like your podcast. Yeah, it's lovely pleasure talking to you, and good to see you after what, 11 years, 12
let's just call it ages, yeah.
ages.
More
Yeah,
actually. Could have been more
but
actually, yeah.
then
Nevertheless.
next time, yeah, time. Hopefully, it's not next time when we meet. Hopefully, it's not a video chat and it's like an in-person chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you When you come to India next time, you can probably take a connecting flight from Delhi.
Yeah, definitely. I need to plan something like that.
Absolutely. Happy to host you here and show you around the city and what all has
No,
changed in Delhi.
no, I have not seen north of India, so definitely that's on my list. So I've not seen Delhi, Agra. I've definitely not touched anything in the north side of India, so definitely on my
So
list.
now that this is on the podcast, we have to kind of try and make it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then, lovely talking to you, Pratik.
Same here, Ishani.
Bye.
Superb. So all the best. Tata. Bye bye.